Okay, trying this a new way. I'm outside for one because there's better lighting, and I'm trying the camera on my laptop. So, as promised, this is a video. It's another prepping video, and it will be on the top 10 items sold out after a crisis. Or, in other words, things you should be getting now so you don't have to worry about it then. And I have notes, so if you see me looking down or over, that's what I'm doing. So like I told you guys last week, I decided to do a course on prepping, kind of like a beginner's how to or whatever. And so here we go. This is the second in the series. And this is outside. We're sitting here. Oh, that's the cursor. Me and Bella are outside enjoying this beautiful day. Much better lighting. I don't have my camera tripod or my lighting yet, so the lighting in the house is not that good. So anyway, now you guys would have to have been living in a cave for the last 8 or 9 months, 6 or 7 months, to not realize that we are in some disturbing times. Of course, knowing that these things are going to take place and that they're going to get worse doesn't mean you can't be prepared for them. I mean, there's disasters all over the world, but especially here in the U.S., there's a lot of things going on. And it's going to get to the point where it may be dangerous for you to go to a store, or even impractical, or at best impractical, I should say. So a lot of people in the U.S., I think, feel that in an emergency, the government is going to step up and take care of them. And to a point, that may be true, but you should not rely on that. If there's a lot of civil unrest, they can't get to you or won't bother to. If the natural disaster happens, again, they may not be able to get to you. So, you can't take for granted that someone else will be there to take care of you and your family. That's very irresponsible on your part to do so. I think that we're going to see more of these types of crises here in the U.S. In the next year or two, getting worse as time goes by. And that's going to be not just a civil unrest, because that's going to get really bad too. Earthquakes, hurricanes, fires, famines, floods, environmental disasters, of course the epidemics, terrorist attacks, domestic or whatever, riots, things like that. We can't control those, when or if they're going to happen. The only thing you can control is how you react to them and if you are prepared for them to happen. So there are a lot of things out of your control, but there are a lot of things that are in your hands. And if you don't take this time right now where we have a relative I hate pop-ups on my computer. If you don't take the time right now when we have a relative amount of, I'm not going to say peace, but the ability to go and do these things, then, like I said before, that's highly irresponsible for you and your family. Because when a crisis does happen, the vast majority of people are going to find themselves scrambling to just fulfill their basic needs, not to mention their family or extended family. You could be without electrical power. We've seen that, I think, in California. They had planned power outages or so, and that's not cool. You could have the grocery stores depleted. You've seen that. The whole COVID-19 fear, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Panic just stripped the grocery stores bare. If you were a prepper, or even just someone who was remotely prepared, that did not concern you at all. My family and I didn't have to go to the store. We weren't concerned at all about running out of anything, and that's a really good feeling. So if you haven't prepared in the first place, then you're going to be one of those who, your family's going to do without. And it's so easy to prepare that I don't understand why more people don't at least have a 2-week supply. So let me get my thoughts here together. And you don't have to have just food like stockpiled. it has to be the type of food that doesn't require refrigeration, for one thing. If you don't have electrical power or a generator, then anything that's in your freezer or your fridge is just going to go bad. So think about the types of things that you would stockpile food-wise. You're going to have things that your family will eat, but they also need to be a nutritionally balanced variety. Don't just have beans and rice and potatoes. You're going to need veggies and fruits and things, and meat and things like that. So like I said, if you have 100 cases of Twinkies and you only have 2 cans of vegetables on your shelf, then that's just not gonna work. Find things that have a long shelf life. I've posted the link to my YouTube playlists for prepping here before, and it talks about the expiration dates on foods, especially canned foods. There are several foods that never expire. They'll outlive you. Take a look at that list. Things like rice and beans and powdered milk and honey, sugar, salt, spices, and things like that. If the crisis goes on for weeks or months or even a year, if you don't have food that's going to last that long, then it's not going to do you any good in the first place. You need to have the means to prepare the foods, whether it's just the ability to have hot water or to, bake a loaf of bread, things like that. So we talked a little bit about that last week. I'm sorry, I got distracted here. I lost my place in my notes. You guys know how that goes. So anyway, do you want to take the chance? Do you want to say, well, I don't really expect anything to happen to me here. I'm pretty, well off. We have this and this and this. Nothing, it's not going to affect us. The government will step up, FEMA or Red Cross or whatever. But do you want to take that chance? I mean, seriously, do you want to take the chance? Wouldn't you rather have what you and your family need to stay fed and healthy, just tucked away somewhere in your house that, you could go to sleep at night and said, if something were to happen tonight before we wake up, I wouldn't worry about my family. I mean, what's it going to hurt for you to do it? Okay, so we're going to go through the list pretty quickly. I'm already 7 minutes into this, and I really try to keep them under 20 minutes. So water is the obvious one. You can go without food for a long time, relatively speaking, but surviving without water is impossible. Just even for a few days, a couple of days, and you're going to feel the deprivations of it. So you can store water. You can have bottled water. You can have gallons of water, things like that. That becomes a space issue if you're looking at long-term sustainability. You're going to run out of space for it. So you need to think of ways you can filter water. Do you have a creek nearby, a pond, anything? Do you have a well that you could tap into if the water just stopped coming? Learn how to filter water naturally. How much do you need? It's estimated that you need about a gallon of water a day per person. You're going to drink about half that. So the other amount is going to go for cooking and washing and things like that. So, if you have 4 people in your household, you're going to need about 4 to 5 gallons of water a day on the safe side. So, if you think a week, that's almost 30 gallons of water. Yeah, 30 gallons of water. Where are you going to put that in your house, especially if you live in a small place? So the next thing to do would be water filtration systems. In my last video, I mentioned 2 systems they're kind of expensive. They're worth the price. The Big Berkey water filtration system and the Alexa Pure Pro, which is what I have. I have one filter for it. It filters about 2.5 gallons of water at a time. One filter does, I think, 13,000 gallons. I'm sorry, 5,000 gallons for one filter. And you can put up to 4 filters inside the unit at a time, which will, of course, mean that you've got 20,000 gallons of water. I think I did a breakdown of how much that is. And for one person drinking a gallon of water a day, 5,000 gallons is like 10 or 13 years. Okay, so there's that. Moving on past that, and I'll put a link for both of those. You can get the Big Berkey and the filters on Amazon, but the Alexa Pure Pro you can only get from the company that makes them. Dried fruits and vegetables, you know, you're not gonna have the luxury of fresh fruits and vegetables unless you have a garden, which is very important. But the freeze-dried and dehydrated vegetables, if stored properly, are going to last almost indefinitely. And I say that indefinitely, I mean, you know, several months to a year or more. If, you know, they're just like what you buy at Walmart. If you buy the number 10 size cans of dried fruits and veggies, they're, until open, they're good for like 20 years. You know, so think about that. They're going to have a freeze-dried, dehydrated, whatever. They maintain their level of nutrition to a great degree. So, you know, you're going to need that, you know, the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals that you get, vitamin A and K, calcium, potassium, iron, copper, you know, things you could do that you're going to need if you don't. And that's another thing. Keep a supply of multivitamins on hand in case your diet is less than ideal. You can do things like apricots, raisins, dates, prunes, figs, peaches, apples, pears, plums, cranberries, blueberries, strawberries, mangoes. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can do the vegetables, broccoli, potatoes, tomatoes, collards, spinach, okra, squash, avocados, peppers, mushrooms, peas, carrots, corn, onions, and cabbage. Beans are important. Beans are almost a perfect food with protein and the amino acids that they give you. If you pair that with rice and say a can of tomatoes, that is almost literally a perfect meal. Soybeans, navy beans, lima beans, kidney beans, green beans, pinto beans, great northern beans, okay? Those are pretty crucial. That's a good building base. So the next thing, number 3, is grains and cereals. Wheat and rice. Just a little sidebar on rice. Although brown rice is healthier, it has a higher amount of fat in it. It will not keep as long. The fats in the brown rice will cause it to go rancid. If you're prepping for a long term, buy white rice. And here's a side note on grains and rice and things like that. Beans also. Rice, wheat, flour, cornmeal, beans, anything like that that you buy. Put the packages in the freezer, in your freezer, for no less than 3 days, ideally up to 4 or 5 days. That will kill any critters that are in there, because gross as it sounds, they're going to be in there. And if you store them without putting them in the freezer, you're going to come back in a year and it's going to be unedible. There's going to be, you know, it's going to be ruined. So put your stuff in the freezer when you buy it, and then package it in. What I suggest is buying a vacuum food sealer and the little bags, and then just vacuum sealing it after you've had it in the freezer. These things are going to provide energy and proteins, like oats, barley, you know, wheat, rice, you know, quinoa, all that stuff like that. Just be sure of the fat content on them, because, as I said, over time those fats can go rancid. Okay. Cereal, you know, one of the things, and they're not going to go bad if you store them properly. Even oatmeal, like the little packets of oatmeal, they're not going to go bad if you keep them and store them properly. You mostly just need water to fix them, the oatmeal and things like that. So, you know, they're pretty handy. You can sprinkle it in yogurt and eat it too, the oatmeal, the flavored oatmeals. Let's see. You don't want to let your stuff, any of your preps, be in the sun. You want to keep them in your pantry, ideally, you know, under, you know, 75 degrees, you know, because that's going to, and keep them away from any moisture. Those are the things that are going to cause your food stores to spoil, and then you've wasted your money. All right, we're 15 minutes in, so I may stop it at number 4 and then do the the other few either later today or tomorrow, because, you know, I don't want to keep you guys on a long time. And sometimes I tend to want to give more details than you just need at the moment. Okay, so number 4, canned meats and fish. Canned foods are going to last almost indefinitely. You can go to the USDA website, you can go to the manufacturer websites, and they're going to verify that to be true. As long as the cans are undamaged, unopened, I mean, they're good for a decade, even past their expiration date. If you're in doubt, when you open the can, smell it. Does it smell good? Does it look good? You know, things like that. Has the can been damaged? If not, then it's safe to eat. So you're going to need, you know, like I said, if the power goes out, you're not going to have the ability to store meats and things like that in the fridge. So canned meats and fish are ideal. But, you know, because like I said, you may prefer fresh, but trust me, if you're eating to survive, a can of Keystone ground beef or a can of, you know, the canned chicken, it's going to be a delicacy to you. They're going to give you a lot of protein that you might not receive from other foods. It is pre-cooked and processed and sealed. It's going to have carbohydrates and fats and plus some vitamins and minerals. You are probably going to be surprised if you really start looking. The variety that you can get between tuna, you can get canned salmon, you can even get canned shrimp, you can get canned pork, you can get ground beef that's been canned, you can get like the shredded beef, you can get canned chicken, you can get things, you know, like Spam, which our family loves Spam. We eat a lot of that, and it comes in so many different flavors, and it's really good cooked in a lot of things. So, you know, get the stuff you know, it may sound weird, but you can take a can of that that canned cooked ground beef, throw it in a pot with some dehydrated veggies or a can of mixed veggies and a can of tomatoes, and it's a really good soup. So I'm not bad on time. So let's do pasta and sauces. Pasta is a great source of carbohydrates. It gives your body energy. I know there's a big thing on the low carb or zero carb diets. They can be good for some things, but a restrictive diet is really not sustainable long term. Your body needs a variety of things, and in a crisis situation, you're going to need the energy and the nutrients that you get from carbohydrates. It just lasts longer. It gives your body more energy. So if you're in any kind of survival mode, you're going to need the things that you get from carbs. Pasta is, it's cheap. For one, you can go buy a 1 pound box of pasta for $1 or less. Because it is dried, it's good indefinitely. As long as there's no moisture that gets to it, pasta is going to last, you know, as long as you're going to need it to. It's easy to store. Oh, sorry. There was a weird bug. It can be a main dish, it can be a side dish, or it can be like part of a salad. It's good hot or cold. There's so many different varieties of pasta. You know, lasagna, spaghetti, fettuccine, ziti, linguine, you know, just everything. You can buy the canned or jarred pasta sauces to go with it, and you've got a meal right there. The sauces themselves are full of nutrients. They are, you know, you can get tomato-based, Alfredo, marinara, bolognese, pesto, Tuscan herbs, you know, mushrooms, garlic sauce. So, you know, think about that as a variety. Another thing is nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are so good for your brain. They're good for your heart. They're just so good for you, for your body overall. They're very compact energy, meaning a handful of nuts can give you energy and sustain you for as long as almost, well, I'm not going to say almost a whole meal, but in a way it can. It's a very compact form of energy. They're easy to store. They're ready to eat for the most part. Peanut butter is another food that can be good for a very, very long time. If you're looking to store peanut butter, we have many, many jars of peanut butter. You know, if you get the ones without the added oils, they will last a little bit longer. So just be careful and use your working pantry versus your overflow pantry, like I talked about in the last video. So as you pull from your overflow pantry, and then restock. So nuts and seeds are a great way for compact energy, like trail mixes and things like that. They have high levels of monounsaturated fats, not fate, which is a good source of energy. You get protein, vitamins, magnesium, fiber. There's just so much. Sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax, sesame seeds. So we're going to edit that out. Okay, so you get zinc, iron, manganese, magnesium, phosphorus, copper, potassium, zinc, and more. That bug tried to get me, y'all. Bella warned me. I'm going to edit that out because, that was very uncool of me to freak out like that. I'm glad I didn't do alive. Juices and powdered milks. You're going to need other things besides water to drink. You're just going to. You're going to get sick of it. Things like, if you're drinking water and then you whip out a can or a jar of Tang to make Kool-Aid, that's a huge treat. That's a big deal. You're going to need some comfort foods, okay? You can't just think of what you will need to survive. You need to think of things you can do to lift moods, to, brighten the day. You're going to pull out a thing of chocolate milk mix and you're going to be the hero. And you can mix it with water. I mean, it's not going to be as good, but still, hey, come back here. Come on. That's a treat. Juices, they're a lot of sugar, but, they are from fruits, so whatever. They can be a healthy source of nutrients. They can be a refreshing substitute. Like I said, for plain water, a good treat. Like grape juice, tomato juice, apple juice, pineapple juice, vegetable juice, vitamin C, folic acid, potassium. In some cases, like prune juice, you're going to get fiber. Let's talk about powdered milk. Powdered milk is good because you just need water to prepare it. You can add it to things. It has an indefinite shelf life, meaning it's going to last a really, really long time. So you don't want to buy canned milk per se because it can go bad. But powdered milk, because it has no moisture in it, is going to last you as long as you're going to need it to. So, get powdered milk and things like that. It's good for cooking and baking too. Oils and seasonings. You can make anything taste good if it has enough seasoning or salt on it. So don't neglect that when you're prepping. Buy oil. The newer oils like canola and corn oil and vegetable oil can last a really, really long time. You're going to need to add fats to your diet. You're going to need them for cooking and frying and things like that. So, do that. But don't forget your spices and herbs. You're going to want to consider that because, like I said, you can take a cup of beans and a half a cup of rice and a can of tomatoes and some water and cook it up and have an amazing meal. Hey, Bella, come back over here. Come here. Hello? Bella. See, this is what happens. I try to ask her nice. She doesn't ignore it. I have to pull out the psycho mom voice to get her to come back. I don't understand it. I think that's a kid thing too. Get over here. So, spices and things, like chili, garlic, onion, parsley, oregano, cinnamon. Personally, I'm a big fan of paprika and cumin and cilantro, garlic, curry powder. I like I make a seasoning for my beans, and it's pretty much, brown sugar, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, paprika, a little chili powder, things like that. And it's really good on everything. It's good on beef and pork. Powdered and dried herbs are going to last a long time, as long as you're going to need them to, basically. And although they may lose a little of the flavor, they're not going to go bad. Okay, you just may have to use more of them. So, and salt, stock up on salt. Don't go for the fancy salt. Please don't do that. Go buy the 50-cent tub of, or drum or whatever they call it, of iodized salt, because you need iodine. You need salt in your diet. It's cheap. Who cares about fancy salt when you're just trying to keep your family going? Okay, buy the little 50-cent tub of salt that's got iodine in it. It's not going to go bad. Buy sugar. Sugar's not going to go bad if it's stored properly. By maple syrup and honey, they are not going to go bad if stored properly. They just never will go bad. By the corn syrup, it's not going to go bad. Those can be great when you've got, you know, plain oatmeal or cream of wheat or whatever you need to, your coffee, your tea, and things like that. You want to sweeten it. They're not going to go bad. By vinegar, just plain white vinegar. Hey, do not run off again. Get over here. Vinegar is good. You can use it for cooking, for pickling. It's also good for cleaning, disinfecting, and it can keep insects away. Okay, we're on the last two, guys. I'm going to keep it under 30 minutes. Comfort foods. We talked about comfort foods, you know, with the Kool-Aids like Tang and stuff like that. I buy the big things of the Lipton instant tea. I buy the Southern sweetened, of course, and the lemon flavor. Those are great. You're gonna, because, you know, personally, I drink water every day. I don't get sick of it, but you may not like water, and that's going to be a treat for you. So comfort foods, coffee and tea and things like that. Coffee's not going to go bad. Tea bags are not going to go bad. Instant coffee, I mean. If you are someone who likes to have a little drink every once in a while, your hard liquors are not going to go bad. Whiskey, vodka, rum, gin, tequila, and things like that. You can stock up on those. You know, it's good to liven a mood. It's good to help you relax. It's also good for trading and bartering. So, you know, I wouldn't say buy the big gallon bottles. I would say, you know, buy some of the smaller ones for trading and things like that if you need to. You know, just don't get it too over imbibed. Okay, so number 10, the last thing I promise, is non-food items. So, you know, if it happened, if something were to happen and it just went bad, the SHTF situation, as preppers call it, you know, imagine how proud you would be if you opened up a pantry and you had, you know, your family's favorite foods. You had everything that they needed to make it without having to go out into a potentially dangerous situation and look for food or supplies. You know, there's plenty of things that you want to have in addition to that in your house. And I'm just going to read them off quickly so we can get the video. A can opener, flashlights and batteries, candles and lighters. We have lamps with oil and wicks. Any copies of your legal documents or identification. Medications for you or your pets. Hygiene products, things to clean with. Clothing, footwear, you know, make sure you always have plenty of socks and underwear and things like that. Sleeping bags and backpacks in case you have to go. Dishes and utensils that, like for camping, that would travel easily. Tools, like a shovel, a hammer, an axe, a pocket knife, rope, things like that. A tarp is good in case you have to make a shelter. First aid supplies, a small camping stove, blankets, pencils, pen and paper, maybe some stamps or whatever. You know, I don't know if the post office will be running, but who knows? You could leave notes for people to meet you, whatever, you know, in, like, you know, you have a secret meeting place or whatever. You'll want garbage bags. You'll want insect repellent. Stock up on it. Hold on a second, you guys. Yes, Puddin'. I am doing a video. Can I call you back in just a sec? And I'm going to be done in like 3 minutes. Okay. All right, love you, bye. Okay, insect repellent, very crucial, especially if you're camping. You're going to need a radio, and I recommend going on Amazon and getting there's a solar-powered radio that you can get, like a weather radio, but it also has little ports to like charge your phones and stuff, so that could be handy, and they have little hand cranks on them. A lot of them come with a built-in flashlight. Some of them have a compass. Multivitamins, those are going to be good because you may not be getting the range of foods that you need for proper nutrition. So just take a multivitamin every day. Pet food, you're going to need pet food. Firearms and ammunition. If you're able to get a gun, I suggest doing so, even if it's only for hunting. You will need to protect yourself, I'm sure. If you can't get a gun, think of other alternatives. So anyway, those are my top 10 things you're going to need to look into getting now. Before a crisis happens, because after it happens, you're not going to be able to get them. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry about the whole bug freak out thing. Message me if you have any questions or just comment. either way, it's fine. I'm here for you with questions. I've done this for a long time. I've done a lot of research into it. I said I'd keep it under 20, but it ended up being about 30 minutes. But anyway, I love you guys. See you later.